Video opens with a rapid montage. Black and white shots of old newspaper printing presses churning out papers. The clatter of typewriter keys is loud and frantic. A hand slams a revised stamp onto a stack of documents. The sound of a teletype machine fades in and out. The camera zooms in on headlines spinning and changing. Market plummets becomes economic realignment. Protests erupt becomes public gatherings. Catastrophic failure becomes unforeseen complications. Scene, a dimly lit, cluttered office basement. The sound is muffled, dominated by the hum of fluorescent lights and distant, echoing footsteps from the floor above. His journey began in the archives, a place where history went to be forgotten. As an intern, his world was a monochrome landscape of paper and ink. His hands, perpetually stained with the black of the marker, moved with a nervous, twitchy energy. The task was simple, almost mechanical: redact, obscure, remove. He'd fetch coffee, his eyes cast downward, avoiding the gazes of the more senior figures who moved through the halls with an unnerving sense of purpose. Then, back to his cramped corner, he would sit with stacks of printed articles, the thick felt tip of his marker hovering over names, dates, and inconvenient facts. A witness's testimony, a damning statistic, a politician's broken promise, all would disappear under a clean black line. He wasn't creating a new truth, not yet. He was simply erasing the old one stroke at a time, learning that the most powerful statements are often the ones left unsaid. Scene, a slightly more modern, open-plan office. The sound of keyboards clicking is constant. The character now sits at his own desk, looking more focused. Promotion brought him out of the basement and into the fluorescent glare of the main floor. As a junior redactor, his tools evolved from the marker to the keyboard. The crude act of erasure was replaced by the more subtle art of reframing. He learned the lexicon of ambiguity. An economic crisis was massaged into a market correction. A corporate scandal was softened to a managerial oversight. He would spend hours staring at a blinking cursor, searching for the perfect synonym, the precise turn of phrase that would drain the urgency from a headline and lull the reader into a state of passive acceptance. His work was no longer about deletion, but about dilution. He was a linguistic alchemist, transforming the lead of hard reality into the fool's gold of palatable fiction. With each rewritten headline, he felt a small, private thrill. The quiet power of shaping perception, of controlling the emotional temperature of the world from the sterile comfort of his cubicle. Scene, a glass-walled office overlooking the main floor. The character is now dressed in a sharp suit, looking confident and authoritative. Years passed, and with them came a corner office and the title of senior editor. The solitary act of writing was replaced by the collaborative effort of large-scale narrative construction. He no longer typed the words himself. He approved them. Standing before a massive digital screen, he would direct his team, a conductor orchestrating a symphony of disinformation. "Soften that angle," he'd command, pointing to a story about industrial pollution. "Let's focus on the jobs created, not the river." He would gesture to a report on civil unrest. Frame it as a public safety issue. Emphasize the police response, not the cause of the protest. His team of junior redactors would scurry to obey, their fingers flying across keyboards to bend reality to his will. He was the architect of the official story, overseeing the creation of narratives so vast and internally consistent that they became indistinguishable from the truth itself. Scene, a spacious, minimalist office on a top floor. The city skyline is visible through a panoramic window. The character speaks calmly into a phone. As division chief, his influence extended beyond the daily news cycle and into the annals of history itself. The present was malleable, but the past, he learned, was infinitely more so. In the quiet solitude of his expansive office, he would dictate new histories over secure phone lines. A controversial military intervention was recast as a heroic peacekeeping mission. A failed economic policy was reinterpreted as a necessary strategic sacrifice for long-term stability. He spoke in calm, measured tones, his voice carrying the weight of unquestionable authority. He was no longer just editing the record, he was authoring it, ensuring that the history books would reflect not what happened, but what should have happened according to the department's agenda. His work was now generational, shaping not just what people thought today, but what their children would believe tomorrow. Scene, the final shot is from behind a silhouetted figure. He stands motionless, hands clasped behind his back, in a dark circular room. The only light comes from a 360-degree wall of screens, all displaying different news channels from around the world. His name was a secret, his face unknown. He was a ghost in the machine, a silent observer whose presence was felt in every headline, every broadcast, every state-sanctioned truth. He stood before a wall of 1,000 screens, a global panopticon reflecting the world he had built. From London to Tokyo, from cable news to social media feeds, every screen echoed the narratives he had set in motion. There was no dissent, no alternative perspective, only the monolithic, unassailable truth that had been conceived in the shadows and polished into a blinding glare. The world wasn't just reading his stories, it was living in them. He had achieved the ultimate power, not to control the world, but to define its reality. The clatter of the typewriter had long since faded, replaced by the silent, omnipresent hum of a reality perfectly and completely revised.